Okay, push the button, making a video. Have to admit this one's rather intimidating. Going to be going up against Concordance, who has 26,000 subscribers and 2.8 million views, and Ra, who has 68,000 subscribers and 8.2 million views. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to burn one for this one. Responding to the Magic Sandwich Show, May 13th. This is the portion where Ra and Concordance are going to talk about being a parent, and I guess, well, the show was talking about antinatalism, and I'm a parent and an antinatalist, so I thought I should make a video to get my view out there. So here we go.
Okay. I find that parenting often requires sacrifice.
Okay. That should be, I mean, anybody should be able to know that parenting requires sacrifice. You should know that going in. You shouldn't have to have a child to know that you're going to sacrifice. So I guess that's that. Oh shoot, I'm going to need my glasses.
Both of the things that I want to do, and I mean, many times I've had to sacrifice things that I would want to do for my selfish reasons. I have to give those up for my children. Well,
I mean, but you created the need in the first place. So to say that, I mean, you create the need, and then you say, and then you have to sacrifice your needs for their needs, and then, I don't know, expect to be that's some sort of, I mean, I guess, how should I put it? You want a pat on the back because you created a need, and then you sacrifice your needs for their needs? It just, I don't know how, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, like, you know, instead of making your own kids, I'm sure there was other kids out there already that could have used your sacrifice.
I don't have a problem with that.
Of course you don't have a problem with that, because you made the need. I mean, why would you have a problem? If you had a problem with that, you shouldn't have had kids. I mean, if you have kids, and what are you going to say to them? Well, I have a problem taking care of you, even though I made you. It just, it doesn't add anything. Well, it certainly doesn't. It's nothing. It doesn't counter the antinatalist argument.
I don't mind devoting myself to that. And one thing that my daughter caused in me was that when I had a child and I was solely responsible for this child, I was 25 years old, and I had this enormous epiphany wherein I realized that the axis of the earth did not, in fact, run straight through my colon.
That rather graphic metaphor is merely saying that, yeah, you're not the only person in the world that has needs. You shouldn't have to have a child to realize that. Okay, this is where I wanted to talk about my personal epiphany. It was my first wife miscarried our second child, and that's when I realized that procreation is a roll of the dice. In that case, the child was miscarried, but I guess it could have been worse. It could have been born deformed, or any number of things could have gone wrong. And then I would have been responsible for another life, having to live a life I wouldn't want to live. That was my epiphany. And then shortly after that, I had a vasectomy because I didn't want to be responsible for bringing a life into this world with special needs that I wouldn't want to have. And also, having the vasectomy was also selfish because I didn't want the burden of having to take care of a special needs child. I wouldn't call myself an antinatalist at that time because I didn't know what antinatalism was. But yeah, I did recognize that you're rolling some dangerous dice when you are procreating. So there's that.
That the center of my universe was actually someone else, and that somebody else mattered more than I do.
Well, see, I don't consider my son, he doesn't matter more than me. The only thing different in our relationship is, yeah, I am responsible for him. He is not responsible for me. Everybody has equal value in the world. We're all forced into this situation. That's good, I guess.
And that's a lot of what parenting is.
Well, I'm going to go to concordance, but I insist on getting this point in before we do. When I said that giving to charity is a selfish act, what I mean by that is if you pass a beggar in the street and you give them some money, or you donate to a worthier cause like MSS, in a way it's a selfish act because it's making you feel good about yourself.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, everything really is a selfish act. I mean, if you're going to, well, yeah, that's another thing. When I think about why I had a child, it was, in fact, I think concordance is going to say this. I did it because I wanted a child. I didn't really give any consideration to the fact that that child is going to, once he comes into the world, he's going to have needs that are going to need to be fulfilled by me since I'm the one responsible. But it was a selfish act. I wanted a child.
So I mean by how charitable donations can be perceived as being a selfish act. Concordance.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point, DPR, because selfishness is not necessarily a bad thing. We act...
Right, it's not necessarily a bad thing. As long as your selfishness doesn't cross over into somebody else's welfare.
In our own selfish interest sometimes to benefit all of society. I happen to think that the human endeavor, what I've called the striving, is filled with suffering. But I think that it is a noble thing. I think...
Yeah, see, how can it be a noble thing to create more need? That's all we're doing when we procreate. We're just creating more need, which and there's going to be more death. The more we procreate, the more death there's going. I mean, death is one of the suckier things of life. I mean, if we lived in the Garden of Eden or whatever, there would be no antinatalist argument. Everything would be wonderful. But anyhow.